Hey YouTube, this is Scarecrow Kaiser. Today I'm doing a deck profile on Victor Stride. So, we're going to get started right away with our Sons of Victor deck. There's obviously 4 Victor. Very good card. On Stride effect, excellent. GB2, excellent. 0 complaints. Great card. Why it's a good deck. Second grade 3, there is 4 Muscle Streak. I choose Muscle Streak over other options because he has a pretty okay GB1. His cost is kind of high, but at least it does something. It does something pretty good, standing 2 cards. But it's on Stride effect, being able to kill something. That's kind of helpful in certain matchups. You want to kill your opponent's stuff, especially since your deck is more of an aggro deck, so having a little bit of control can help. But depending on what you're playing, if you're playing someone like Ripples, they're not going to plan to ride a grade 3 necessarily on you or something like that. Riding this guy over Victor would be the better alternative, because then he would actually do something, whereas Victor would just be a Victor, and you're not going to be striding anyways. As compared to the other options like Crystal Skull requires setup. You have to have something out there already. You have to keep it alive. This guy doesn't really require nearly as much setup as the Crystal Skull does. As for Danshark, he's cool, but his on-ride effect kind of sucks. None of the cards that actually have Rush are really that good, or you probably shouldn't be playing them. So there's really nothing for him to search for, and his on-hit effect is cool, but it's a counterblast in a deck that's already very counterblast heavy, so most of the time he's just like vanilla, and in that case Shriek is doing the same thing, acting as a vanilla 11k. Into the grade 2s, we have for Arboral, very good card, well designed, counter the cost, the counterblast, soul blast, it's not too high. He's a good number, and he stands things and gives him power. Like, he's pretty much exactly the kind of card this deck would have wanted. Next grade 2 is 3 Cool Hanks. Cool Hank, I underestimated how valuable he was still going to be in the deck when I first started readjusting it for the new stuff. I thought I would need more power units than something that could restand. I thought I could have enough restanding stuff, but what I've learned is more attacks is more valuable than more power. While power can be hard to block, sometimes it doesn't need to be blocked. Even though it's big, the opponent's like, well, I'm just going to be taking it anyways. But if you swing at them for a series of multiple attacks gets you a better long run advantage. And there are ways to utilize him in cool methods. Like, let's say you have an Arboreal and a Cool Hank for your rearguard. You can have Hank without a boost punch at a rearguard like an Interceptor. That way his once per turn skill didn't trigger yet. And then you could have Arboreal swing, stand that Cool Hank, and then Cool Hank can do his second attack boosted, stand that Arboreal. So there are ways to utilize both of them in the same turn. And for my last grade 2, I have 4 Gunzork. Now, I was very excited to see Gunzork in the anime. That was really cool. He's my favorite of the Extreme Battlers. But that aside, in terms of his practicality use, I think he trumps Szanda. That's a big thing people talk about a lot. I think if you actually sit down and think about it, Gunzork is the better option between the two of them. So let's compare them. Let's give the classic example. Let's say you're talking about them teamed up with Ronbull, the starting Vanguard who restands. So on the first attack, Gunzork would be a 17. Szanda would be a 14. So Gunzork has +1 on his side. And the first attack, he was better. The second attack, Gunzork will be attacking for 22. Szanda will be attacking for 24. Same amount of guard. So it's a tie. So Gunzork's still in the lead. On the third attack, Sazanda would finally outclass his Gunzork, being a 34 versus Gunzork's 27. So 1 point to Sazanda. So now it's a tie. You would have to stand Sazanda a third time, which is not very likely for it to actually have outclassed the Gunzork. Now, in that case of a tie, I would have to give the advantage to Sazanda, or Gunzork, I mean, since by himself he is a 12. Even if he has no booster, he's still a 12. He can still attack things. If you're low on resources, he's still valuable. And even just a 4K boost, which it does happen in this deck, it hits a magic number where Sazanda does not. So I give the advantage to Gunzork. For the grade 1s, first we have 4 Cyclone, our damage and flipping perfect guard. This deck counterblasts a lot. You need to unflip damage so you can keep that pressure on. The new perfect guard is cool and very defensive, and it's cool in sense of an idea that you could power up a rear guard, make it a strong interceptor, and you can keep more cards in your hand then, so you have more stuff to throw out and punch at the opponent. But on the counter side of that, this deck being counterblast heavy and needing counterblast to do its moves, if you're using up a counterblast to make defense so that you can keep more resources, those resources you kept won't matter if you don't have the counterblast to efficiently use them. So then we have our 4 Stride Enablers. I don't need to explain that. I am currently playing next 3 of Malayaki. I don't know how to say this dude's name. I don't care. Very, very cool card. I like what he does. Once the card who stood in front of him stands a second time, then things start to get crazy because this guy's effect stacks. If the card stands more than once, the effect keeps triggering. Very, very cool card. I like it a lot. I might play 4 of it. I'll have to explain my next grade 1 choice before I talk about that. My next grade 1 is 3 of this card that very few people know what it does or that it exists. It's called Space Bit. When you play it, you Soul Blast 1, you choose a card, give that card +5 for the rest of the turn. Now that doesn't seem super cool. It's kind of like, it's 5k and it's, however, obviously this guy, you can throw him behind anything in this deck and it won't really matter, but you can throw it behind the Vanguard. And let's say you're going to give that +5 to someone like your Gunzork. Now, when you consider how many times that Gunzork is going to attack in a turn, and that +5 is riding through each of those attacks in the turn, that +5 goes a lot further than you initially would think. That +5 takes you a long way, actually. So that's why I'm using it. I'm not going to say that this is the end-all be-all. I'm not going to say I'm going to be playing it forever. I'm not saying I'm even going to keep playing 3. I may cut 1 Space Bit, go back to 4 of this dude. But it's working pretty cool. People find it very cool when it happens. They don't see it coming because they don't even know about this card and stuff. But it's pretty cool to me. I like it. For my starter, I am playing Kabootron. Now, Ranbull is a very good card. I actually didn't think that I would like Kabootron over Ranbull. However, like I was talking about Cool Hank, I found that in the long run, more attacks is better than more power. So that's why I choose to run the Kabootron for an additional attack. Plus, he moves for the soul, so it helps for the soul blasting costs of your cards like Space Bit and Arborol and stuff like that. But I like him. Now, in regards to Ranbull, though, if you were to choose to play Ranbull, this card combos very well with the Ranbull. You get that +5 to that Ranbull, and since we know that Ranbull is going to be standing every time the card in front of it stands, that means for the whole turn, the Ranbull is a 10k booster. For the triggers, 4 of the Extreme Battler crit. Other than the fact that it moves to the soul to help for your Soul Blast, it's helpful early game in the sense that you can throw it down just to make you could throw it down in front of a starter, make a 9k column, punch at a grade 2 or something, and then have him move into the soul if you're like say you had to go first, so you're not striding first, but you played Victor and you're a Victor. Then you could play this guy, punch at something, move him in the soul, replace him, draw a card. So you got an attack in without really committing anything to the field yet. We got 4 Ray of Lightning, our damage and flipping perfect guard. He's considerably more helpful in the long run than the other crit is, because this deck counterblasts a lot. Then I play 4 draws and 4 heals. This deck needs draws. I'd actually almost want to play more than 4, but I can't. I feel like the crits moving to the soul is very helpful, so that's why I only play 4. No stands. This deck stands on its own. The stands would usually be wasted. The deck needs draw power to replace its resources. Blah blah blah. For the grade 4s, start, we got 1 Vic-10, on hit, stand something, give it +5. Usually a first stride. Have a backup guy for special situations, tribute. He kills things, don't use him a lot, but he's there. Then I have 4 Victors, and I'm going to jump right to the next one so I can more fully explain. Oops. I have 2 Meteor Kaisers. Now, to explain this lineup, I've found that Meteor Kaiser, Victor versus Plasma. So I've chose to play more Victors over Plasma because Victor doesn't counterblast. That's basically why. This deck is very counterblast heavy. He stands 2 things, maybe a third if he hits, and he does it without counterblasting. That's what I like about him. And Plasma, while strong, he counterblasts. He's very counterblast heavy for this deck. So, and because of that, I could have gone a 4 and 4, but then I would have less access. I would have to use Victor as my first stride, which isn't terrible. Sometimes you even want Victor to be your first stride, so that you can hit GB2 off of 1 stride. That way, if you know you're not sure that you're going to stride next turn, at least your Victor grade 3 will be active with his generation break. And since it's that I'd rather just have this to stride into, so that I can then use Victor up to 2 more times. So that's it for this deck profile. Thank you for watching.